Hey, welcome back to the Successful Lead Generating Coaches Show. My name is Arfon, and today I have a very special episode. I just celebrated my 38th birthday, and I had a really blast. It was one of the first times I could truly honestly say that I took some time to really celebrate myself. As I've expressed sometimes in previous episodes, I've been on a journey working on just learning a lot about myself. And today I wanted to share with you 38 life and business lessons I've learned from my 38 years on this earth. And maybe this resonates with you if you're a guy and you're probably struggling or you have struggled with some things, maybe some of this will resonate with you. If you're just in business in general and you're looking to really overcome some roadblocks or get through some walls you're facing, hopefully some of these insights can also help you too as well. So I'm gonna dive right in. Again, like I said, I just turned 38. Had a really great time. Spent the weekend doing some hiking, and then on my actual birthday, I had a chance to go see some movies. Just kind of get out the house for a little bit more, and also enjoy some time with family. Spend time with my kids, and got a chance to really just soak in from all the love around me. All right, so the 38 different things, and I'm probably not going to order these. I'll try. Let's see how it goes, right? So the first thing I'd say is the number one thing I've learned is that your energy is your most valuable currency, right? And you've probably heard the saying that goes, your health is your wealth, right? Or health is wealth. And I want to say that your energy is your most valuable currency. And the reason why is because throughout the day, what ends up happening is that if you're not waking up at 100% energy or even 80 or 75, it's very difficult to get everything done that you can get done at your 100%, at your best, the best of your ability. Okay, and you may find that you're burning out quickly before the day's even over. I caught myself with this too as well, and I've learned how to protect it, how to protect my energy, and how to direct it, how to direct my energy. And this for me, since I'm a very active person, it involves me being active. If I'm not active, my energy is not being used correctly, and it can cause a lot of this disruption in my entire life. And if you've ever felt that, if you kind of feel like you can't sit still or you can't relax or rest, you have energy built up, you have to be able to direct that energy. And what's happened is you get this little woosah moment where you can just actually like veg out and watch a show and a movie, and it feels really, really great. And I used to envy people who were able to do that. And when I was a teenager and even previously, I'd be able to sit there and watch 2, 3 movies or shows back to back, no problem. And along the way, I ended up losing some of that. So reclaiming that has been super, super just impactful in my life. The next thing in with you is going to be to master your mornings. I feel that the energy of the morning is a very sacred time. And this is something that if you can win the first hour of your day, the chances of you winning the rest of your day significantly increases. And I say the first hour, not one of those bro marketers. It's like get up at 4 o'clock and do this, do that, and journal and read and run 7 miles, bike ride 7 miles, and swim 7 miles, and do all these crazy things. Like just the first hour, whether it's spent as soon as you get up, going, it's like getting some blue light in your body, activating your system, letting your body know the true circadian rhythm it's going to make you achieve just a max and peak energy. This is just a really, really important time to maximize your morning. I love just going on a walk. Sometimes I'll head out, just drive over to the gym, but this is the time to get outdoors. Even that drive, I'm still getting blue light into my body. The sun is up, I'm getting refreshed, and this is something really important. Just maximize that first hour. Fitness doesn't have to be for everyone. It could also be spending time in meditation, spending time in prayer, but something to help you to charge up the first hour of your day, because guess what? That remaining 23 hours just becomes maximized too as well. Okay. Number 3, I really believe this is clarity outperforms hustle every single time. The more you can hustle, you can go, you can keep running. And the vision I have for hustle often is that someone's running up against the wall. They're running up against the wall and they're like, I'm going to get through this wall and I'm going to do it head first. And they keep hustling. And here's the thing. I do believe that eventually that wall gets weak, our head gets stronger, and we can break it down. But it's very painful, right? But when you have clarity is almost like taking a step back, looking at the wall, and be like, oh, there's actually a door over there. Just didn't notice that. And now you're able to open the door and get through the wall. And sometimes it can be literal that aha moment that we've gotten. And I've gotten that several times in my life where I have been hustling, and I was just like hustling, and not getting anywhere. It's like, I need to take a break. I take a break, and then all of a sudden, I step back and I see the door. I see the clarity, and I can guarantee it outperforms hustle. The more you can operate from clarity, the more you're gonna start putting hustle aside, and you can actually look at hustle in a more positive light, to where you can hustle towards something, but you're hustling with clarity, if that makes sense to you, because it's something that have really helped me a lot too. The next thing is that what you tolerate, you teach. And this is true especially in business and relationships, whether you have children, friends, other people in your family, and also those who are inside of your team. Okay, if you're tolerating something, you're teaching someone that you tolerate that. So you have to be able to apply a simple concept I learned in management a very long time ago, which is inspect what you expect. And not for it to be so rigid in the structure where you're looking and very critically, but at the same time is that you're not tolerating people not giving their all, or trying their best in a sense of when you need them to. And you're also not tolerating your boundaries getting stepped over. So this is something that you have to continually reinforce. And what you tolerate, again, is what you teach. So this is more applicable in the business side, especially when you're training people, because as you train team members, they're going to pick up on what you expect, what you actually want them to do. And if someone's sending a report but they're not fully giving all the details, for example, and you don't say anything about it, well, guess what? You're teaching that, because now you're tolerating that it's okay to send an incomplete and accurate report. Okay, so that's just a very small example there. So think about that. The next thing is that your relationships, especially your romantic ones, are a mirror, and they actually show a lot into you, into your personal development, into the areas that where you're potentially not living up, or even being that best version of yourself. And often is the area where you're not being the best version of yourself that you want to be at. It's not even for the other person. It's actually even just for your own sake and your benefit. That there's things that I was putting aside that I wasn't dealing with, and my relationships really were a mirror to that, because what happened is that the more I dealt with these things of my personality, of how false beliefs and limiting beliefs, and just an incorrect perspective on life sometimes, and in certain ways, the more I dealt with this, the more I was able to mend and fix and heal a certain amount of my relationships. Okay, so I think your relationships are a big mirror to what you have going on in your life. It's very much so, especially the romantic ones you hold. The other thing is, and this is where I think we're on number 6 now, is you don't scale chaos. Okay, and this is, again, when you're running your business, your back end needs to be tightened before you start adding more on the front. Because if your back end is a mess and you start scaling the front, what ends up happening is a quick path towards burnout. And this is something that I experienced, especially with the first 3-4 years in business, where the front end was just pouring in, and I was going hard on getting lead generation, closing sales, things like that. But there was a bit of a neglect on my part on the back end. And what ended up happening, this caused 60-70 hours a week of work, and it caused a lot of emotional turmoil, lost friendships because I wasn't able to nurture my friendships. And what ended up happening is that profitability wise in the business, it was great, but then it was causing a lot of stress. And even with clients too as well. If I could see someone, their back end is chaotic, their funnels aren't fully fleshed out, it's not really clear where they want their people to go, I'm like, we can't scale this, because what you're going to do is you're going to pour gas into a bad situation, and it's going to amplify a bad situation in the back end. So it may be good you're getting clients, getting all these and conversions, but if the back end can't handle it, they're going to get a poor experience, and they're going to get negative reviews. So that's something we always said, don't scale chaos, okay? That's something I learned very so much in early phases of business. Number 7 is God's delays are divine protection. A lot of times we could say this is when God says no is a way of protecting you, but the delays are also a way of divine protection, because we have to trust the timing. We really don't get to choose when things are going to come our way, okay? God ultimately has the plan, has everything in control, and he knows what's best for us and loves us so much that he is going to do what is going to be for our best and for our good. And sometimes that could feel tough, especially if you're going through a hard time to even hearing that. But ultimately, we have to really, it's an act of surrender and faith to just really know that God's delays are divine protection. And there's so many moments in my life where I've looked back and I was able to see, wow, if this had happened months earlier, it would have wrecked me. It really would have wrecked me. If I even looking back now, if the level of success I have right now, if I obtained this when I was maybe much younger in my 20s, I might not have been able to handle it. I might not have been able to actually consciously or even calmly handle some of the situations that have come up along the way, especially with operating a business with team and serving clients in the advertising field. I would not have been able to mentally or physically handle some of these challenges. So the delay has been extremely beneficial, and it really is a protection. Number 8, and this is something that I, as someone who works in advertising, is something that came to me. And this is a really great lesson: is that your data tells the truth. And here's the thing: feelings are valid; they really are. But when it comes to your business, sometimes going off of a feeling is not always the way to get the positive results, right? So we may feel a program isn't working as well as we want to, or we may feel that a campaign is not converting. And I've had this endless times we're talking to clients like, oh, I really don't feel this is working. Well, I was like, well, let's look at the numbers. And we started looking at everything. It was like, oh, well, it actually is working. But because when you're advertising, there's an uncomfortableness that happens when you're spending money and you're looking at, wow, I'm actually spending $100 a day that's going out. And you may not see that $100 a day right away. It may take a week, 2 weeks, sometimes in the coaching space, 3 to 6 months before you can even see a return back on that investment. And the whole thing is that these feelings can come up. Well, here's the thing: is that your data really tells the truth. And that's not saying to discount our feelings and our intuition and the pulls we have and the guidance that we get intuitively, but more so looking at the hard data to know exactly where, like, hey, am I on the right track, and am I taking my feelings to the side for just a second to really look at the data and what it's telling me? Because your data does tell the truth. Okay. The next thing is, and this is, your body keeps score. And there's a saying that our mind may deceive us and hide things from us that we've seen or experienced, but our body doesn't forget. Our body remembers. Our body actually remembers what the feeling is like. And something I learned early on in my therapy journey with working with different therapists is that there's actually a time in our life where we were nonverbal. And if we experience some sort of traumatic event during this time, we may not actually be able to verbalize what we're feeling, but our body has that score. Our body's keeping that score. So what's happening is that when you start feeling certain stress and you're not able to put a word on it or put a name to it or even identify it, the thing is, and even if we try to hide it, like, the stress doesn't disappear. What happens is that it can show up in the mirror. And so for some of us, that is actually physically what happens. And for me, that has happened in the case of putting on actual physical weight. So I do have to look at, like, what's happening around me, how I'm feeling, because it could, in the past especially, it was very easy to trigger me into going into this state again of just really, and that can look like, it's not even overeating, it's just not really being conscious of what I'm actually putting in my body. And slowly but surely it causes excess weight. It causes feeling lethargic as well. It causes feeling low energy. And because the body just didn't really have the ability to process these feelings there. And it takes a conscious effort now to go back through. And it's a really beautiful feeling at the end of it when we're able to heal from these things. But our body does keep the score. Okay. Number 10 is that vision without systems is just hype. You really need to have structures to sustain your growth. So a lot of times we can have vision, we cast a vision, but if there's not a system behind that vision or a way to achieve that, it's just us getting excited. And sometimes I've worked with some clients and some people where it's very much so just ideas that come to mind, they sound amazing, and it's just like boom, 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 but then there's nothing to actual tangible. And what ends up happening is that, well, it's just hype, right? There's no actual growth that's happening from it because it's not going anywhere. So we want to be able to see that there's a system behind the vision and that there's an actual process to attain it. And this actually comes a lot from, like, my management training, and this is very tangible because sometimes we do have to just cast our vision and there may not be a system developed yet, but you also want to have a system in your mind as far as like how is it actually going to look, because the people around you, when they can fully see this vision, not just the high portion of it but the possibility of how it's done, they can also start putting in ways that they can add to help it. Because the thing is, they can see, even if this is the basic, this is the MVP, the minimal viable presentation of this vision, they can even add their own perspective. But we could also add in this here, there, and there, and that's when you get the strength of the collective, the strength of the team to make that vision a reality. Okay. Number 11 is money flows where leadership grows. And this is something where in manifestation, we're always like, I want to manifest. And in my early immaturity of manifestation, it was just something you write down, close it, and just kind of forget about it. You put it there, it's going to manifest, it's going to appear. But even more so now, looking at manifestation in a little different way and looking at where the energy is coming from and where things are flowing. Because if I'm asking for a certain outcome, my brain now starts picking up on that. And the more I start leading and the more I start following that, the more I start going in that, the more the money starts flowing. So the more I'm leading, the more I'm focusing, the more the money flows. Okay? And this is something where you do have to consider yourself to be a leader. And here's the thing. Doesn't mean you're leading other people as like a president or someone in authority or an office. Leading can sometimes simply be just leading yourself, leading your emotions, leading your health, and starting that way. And then things are going to follow along the way. Then the team will come. Then you'll start seeing the money flow more and more and more and more. Surely, I guarantee it's like a proven process almost. Like if you do this, you can see it work. It's almost scientific to a sense of how this can work, starting by just leading by example, leading for yourself. And what's happening, the money will fall, the money will flow. Okay. Now, if you have money stories, that's something different. You got to work through that, of course. But even still, then sometimes the money is flowing in a little bit because you got a money story to unlock, and that's a separate topic. I want to dive into that. But you might see the money start flowing, even if it's $1 or $2 flowing. Follow that flow. Look what their leadership is, and you're going to see once you follow that trickle, it's kind of like a water trail. You're trying to find a leak, you follow the water. Where is the water? You just follow the water, you're going to find a leak. And what happens is that when it comes to money, if you follow that path, what ends up happening, you find a source. You find it's like, okay, well, if I just crank this open right now, the water is going to start pouring even more. And that's where you tap into now, wow, I just cranked into this one thing, and all of a sudden money just started flowing in a way I couldn't even imagine or believe. Okay. Number 12, being a present dad is a power move. Like it's building something that's louder than any words could be said. And the act of being present, just being in the moment, actually being able to sit there, look at your children in the eye, and have a conversation for 5 to 10 minutes, I found has been more profound than if I just was sitting there drinking beer. I'm present, but I'm just not really there. My physical body's there. That 5-10 minutes have been more profoundly impactful being present than even just having a presence, just my body physically being there or mentally checking out. So that is something that is really big power move. Be present with those in your life, especially if you're a parent, or even with your parents and your friends and your family. Being present is really just an incredible power move, right? Number 13, this is a hard one to think, but no one is coming to save you. We've all been either we've rescued or been a victim, and a lot of times we may be looking for a savior to come and save us. And even sometimes in upbringing and teachings that may have been told, we can be thwarted in that we can just not do anything, and a savior is going to come to rescue us. Someone's going to come to save us. And in our early time, maybe there were people who came and they rescued us and they saved us. But ultimately, when it comes to it, you are the one that has to be the one to save and rescue yourself. And this means going back into your mind and into those things that are stories and limiting beliefs. Now, you don't have to have trauma happen to you to be able to go back and look at your life and look at stories that were false stories, where somehow or another someone instilled a belief in you that you've been holding on to, and it could be 30, 40, 50 years, but it's not serving you. As a matter of fact, it's holding you back and preventing you from stepping into the fullness of everything that you actually are. Okay, so you have to be the whole damn rescue plan for your own self, and learn the skills that are needed for that. Start identifying. If you like, for example, if you're just like, hey, I'm someone who has anxiety, that's a great place to start exploring, like, where did this even come from? What was the very first moment I felt anxious? What was happening? And that may be something where the first moment you may feel was when you were like maybe 20, 21. But even from that, you can say, well, you know what, it was also a moment where this happened, and I was probably like 15, 16. And you keep going back, and you eventually find the source and the root, and you can be able to overcome that. Okay, so that is something you have to be the rescue plan for yourself. And now that doesn't excuse getting help, right? Getting help, having people, guidance, having a coach is all very, very helpful. But when it comes to, like, if you are looking at your life and you're like, I need to have a change, like, it starts with you. It starts with the person in the mirror. Okay. Number 14 is marketing is just storytelling with metrics. Really what it is, especially right now in the nature of Facebook ads, is we're wondering like, oh, the targeting, when they get their great targeting, those days are kind of gone where you can sit back and just choose these specific interests, and Facebook's only going to show to these interests, and you can just sit back and have mediocre advertisement and still be able to get results. A lot of that is gone. You really have to work on your art and your craft of being able to tell stories, being able to craft good and genuine messaging. Of course, working with someone like my team and I who can help you to guide you the right way, give you the scripts needed to be able to get that done. But what I mean is, why is it with metrics? Is because you get certain feedback. Even if you're doing things organically, you can look and see, hey, over the past 3 months, I produced X content. If you're a daily producer, X content over X days, and I can see what are some trends of what are the metrics telling me, what are people actually listening to, watching, etc. And this can help to give you some guidance on your action marketing. But ultimately, there is never a time where it's like you take storytelling out of it. The more you include storytelling in it, the better it's going to be. Think of some of the commercials you have. It'd be a grocery store commercial on TV, and what they're doing is they're telling you a story. They're showing you gathering. They're showing you people having a good time. They're really selling closeness and happiness. That's the story. Yeah, it may be that they want you to go to their store to purchase your items, but they're not saying, come to our store. We have this. There are some places that do that if you get like a physical a flyer or something like that. But typically, advertisements that are building awareness and leading to conversions, especially on the TV, you start seeing more of these storytelling aspects come through. And now pay attention to it. There's something that was actually moving to you, like, wow, I really felt connected to this commercial. It was 20 seconds long. Study it. Sit down there. Next time it comes on, like, write it out. What was it's 30 seconds, right? Write it all out as much as you can, and then see, like, how can I include a message like this? And you will start, I guarantee you will start seeing tremendous improvements in your organic marketing and your paid marketing efforts. I guarantee it. Especially if you follow proven frameworks and companies that know what they're doing, and they're excellent at storytelling. Like, they're a storytelling genius. This is where you start seeing strides in your business. Okay. Now, the next thing is, I think number 15 here is procrastination is usually fear in disguise, right? So procrastination is something that we're holding off doing something because there's some sort of fear. And this could be a fear of success, a fear of failure, a fear of just what other people are going to think of me, a fear of like, am I good enough? Am I able? Am I capable? There's a lot of fears that you have to look at there and look at why you're procrastinating doing something. And it can even be a fear of like, if I do that, it's going to drain me, it's going to trigger me, it's going to do something. Like, explore it, lean into it. Don't just always go to avoiding it and just like procrastinate. If you don't face these things, it's just going to hold you back and delay you from achieving that which you actually want and desire. Okay? So, procrastination is usually fear in disguise. I've never ever came across a time where I'm procrastinating and I'm sitting there looking like, oh, what am I doing? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, I'm fearing something and I really need to get a hand on it. Okay, so this is if procrastination is, what are you fearing and why is it disguised as procrastinating? Why are you holding back doing it? And the more you can explore that and go deep, the more you're going to be able to actually make strides. Okay, next thing is client retention is greater than client acquisition. Okay, so here's the thing. you probably have looked, if you, especially if you have clients that pay you on a month-to-month basis or work with you ongoing, and they hire you continuously every quarter, every month or so. What ends up happening is that is where the value and the biggest asset in the business comes from, much so more than client acquisition. Okay, because what happens is that it can a lot of times we spend most of our time, energy, and effort into acquiring clients versus putting our time, energy, and effort into keeping the clients we have. And I can guarantee you that if you put just as much effort into getting them as you do keeping them, you'll start seeing a big change in your business too as well. And this is one of the shifts that we made in our business, is putting a lot more effort into making sure that our clients are getting even better results than expected or promised or so. We're analyzing and taking the time to go on that. And sometimes I don't even post on social media because I'm actually looking through my accounts. Before I go and start doing those marketing efforts on social, things like that, I'm actually reviewing my accounts first, taking care of my clients that I already have. That comes first. I've switched that, where in the past it was the first part of my day I'm going to give to this and this and this to get, use my peak brain to get all these things done. I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna use my peak brain to serve the clients that I already have now, the ones that I want to continue staying with me for years and years and years, versus just only using that amount towards the clients that I want to attain, the ones I want to attract, and the ones I want to get. Now, I still put a lot of time, energy, and effort into that, but as a result of focusing on my client retention, I was actually able to now put more towards my client acquisition, and that it has influenced better referral partnership, better lead generation with cold clients, etc. So love on the ones who stay, right? But still, of course, put as much energy and effort to also getting those who are looking for your service. Okay. Now the next thing I have here is going to be number 17 is you can't outwork poor positioning. And like I mentioned, there was a time where you could have mediocre positioning, mediocre messaging, and choose a certain interest on Facebook, and boom, let it run. And the way things were then, there wasn't as much competition, so you'd be able to get decent results. That's gone now. You really need to have good positioning, because just as much as you're offering something, there's at least 10, 15, 20 other people who are offering something, and they may have potentially done the work to check out their positioning, to make sure that they're speaking to the level of awareness of their ideal client, that their pages are optimized and functional, and the messaging on their pages is a cohesive message between their ads and their landing page and their emails and things all along the way. So you want to make sure that you have strong messaging and continuously do the market research, so that way your positioning is current, is focused, and it's very, very effective. Okay. Number 18 is you teach people how to treat you. And I've learned this in the sense of just everywhere, in relationships and business and just everywhere else too as well. This has a lot to do with boundaries, but more so, not everyone's going to know the things of your personality. They're not going to know for example, unless you tell someone they're familiar, they're not going to know your love language. They're not going to know your personality style. They're not going to know your strengths, right? How you operate. And these are all important things where we have to teach people how to treat us, right? How to come at me, how to, if something's going on, it is an emergency, you need me to focus on something, interrupting me while I'm in the middle of something is not going to be the best way to get that handled, right? So for example, it's okay, we need to bring it to my attention in a way that's a little bit more not so abrupt or something like that. Doesn't mean I can't respond to emergencies, but is it an emergency where we need to stop everything right now, stop, drop, and run? Or is it an emergency where it's hey, we need, by the end of the day, we need to figure this out? Okay, we can approach that a little bit more calmly. So sometimes we gotta teach others how to treat us, and how to what those boundaries are in terms of communication. And if I know for sure that I do quite a bit, and I'm reading and writing and giving a lot of my mental energy, and once it comes 5-6 o'clock, that's not the best time for me to go plan and make a whole bunch of decisions. I need to let those around me know that. Okay, well, if we want to plan this, can we set a time on the calendar to plan it instead of doing it right now? Because I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I want to give you frustration. I want to give you good energy. while we do this. So we have to teach others how to do that because they're not going to know unless you tell them. And if you have expectations from someone to be able to treat you a certain way or do something for you a certain way, and you're unable to communicate it and they're not able to deliver, well, that has a lot to do with how are you able to teach people how to treat you, okay? So the next thing is, and this is a big one for me for this next one, number 19, is that sleep is a strategy. Okay, I don't look at sleep as a luxury. Like, if you you sacrifice sleep in the name of hustle or anything like that. Because I've looked at this over and over again. I've tested this with myself, and I know that my output, how much I'm able to do when I'm well rested, is so much greater than if I'm just trying to hustle and again beat my head up against a wall. Like, yeah, I can go. I've been up for 18 to 20 hours. I only need 5-6 hours of sleep. I can function still, yes, but my brain is not at its peak, it's not as clear, it's not as sharp as. So I now use sleep as a strategy, knowing that if I get the right amount of sleep, I'm going to be able to perform better. I also track it too as well. I use one of those little trackers, so I know if I'm getting good sleep, if I'm in my my REM cycles and my deep sleep cycles. And of course, I pay attention to my fall asleep and my wake up times. So I'm just a little nerd with that data. So that's not for everyone. Sometimes you got to kind of go by how you feel. But again, sometimes our feelings are valid, but they can, when it comes to us self-assessing our feelings, sometimes they can lie to us, and the truth of the data can be able to correct those feelings right away. Where it's like, oh, I feel like I get enough sleep. I feel like I don't know why I'm tired or why I feel a little drained, but I feel like I'm getting enough sleep. Well, is that true? Is that actual data? Like, how much sleep did you actually get? How much water did you actually drink, as an example, right? So you want to use, again, sleep as a strategy. Now, we're probably about halfway through here, so if you're still with me, thank you so much. I appreciate you listening to my musings and the things that I've learned over the years of being alive on this wonderful earth. So let's go on here now. I think we're at number 20. Yeah, number 20. So forgiveness frees your energy, especially when you forgive yourself. And if you've done any of the things I mentioned before, especially going back and really connecting with issues that have happened when you were a child and you're working on, even maybe you've come across things with inner child and learning how to heal things that have happened or beliefs and such that have happened when we were younger. You start learning that now you're not living that same event over and over again. It happened when you were 12, but because your brain is replaying it every single day, it's technically happening to you every single day. Now you're able to let that go, and guess what? Forgiving whoever impacted you, or if it was yourself, whatever the situation was, imagine how much energy you're freeing up now. Think about it. Like if your brain is at 100 and it takes up 2-3%, just trying to manage holding that traumatic event or those bad words or that that limiting belief against you, and it's trying to just like push it to the back and keep it off the stove so it doesn't even come to the back burner, trying to hold the closet door closed. That's robbing you of energy that can be poured into other things. Okay, so forgiveness is a very, very powerful tool you can use to just free up your energy, and you start seeing that, wow, I'm tackling the world with just so much more enthusiasm, energy, and zest for life. Okay, the next thing is that vulnerability is a leadership skill. This was something that I had to learn, and I only learned this within the past half a decade or so, what vulnerability actually means. I never really understood it, but it's given me the ability to be able to sit and communicate at a lot greater level, and allowed me to open up a certain level of empathy and sympathy in those who I'm talking to, and being able to actually get in touch with my emotions in a really, really great way. And this is something as a skill that I recommend everyone learning. There's a great book by Brené Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. Or just go on YouTube and listen to one of her speeches on it, or her, I think it's a TEDx talk on it too as well. And it's going to give a lot of insight of what this actually means in your life, and especially if you've never really understood that concept before. Like I never did. I really just didn't, like I could look up the definition of the word in the dictionary, but I needed that explanation a lot more because, again, I grew up in a way where I was very dysregulated from my emotions, and I couldn't even name what the emotions were. So being able to be vulnerable has allowed me to start tapping into these emotions at a greater level. Okay, and now I'm able to direct it and use it in the way that's gonna at least serve me to as I continue this journey in my life. Next one here, number 22. This is this is something that I've battled with, and I've gone back and forth, and a lot of times it comes back and it's like a slap in the face. But number 20, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is charge what you're worth. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because there's been many times that I assumed the situation and I wanted to close a sale or close a deal, and I'm like, well, this person's not going to want to actually pay maybe a certain rate or something like that. So it's like I may charge a rate that's like, well, this is probably a little bit less than I would normally charge because maybe their ad spend is a little bit lower than my other clients are, that normally pay, or they're like, oh, they're gonna handle some of the creatives and things like that. And what ends up happening when I do this is like there's such an inner turmoil because now things become like any little challenge or something like that, I can like feel it inside myself, whereas like it's almost magnified in a way, and it really has been tied to just like I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, I don't even think we're profitable on this offer, and it's just like all this inner turmoil is stealing my energy, and now it's like it causes this like dysregulation. So it's like when you charge what you're worth, what ends up happening is that it brings so much more peace, and I find that also my clients also appreciate it too as well, because what ends up happening is that they're also at peace with the whole transaction, the whole thing. So I made it a practice to now not do that. It's been many years since I've actually just like, oh, let me just charge less because I feel a certain way, and just kind of go with the data. It is, it's going to still be this amount of work, this amount of time, this amount of effort. We're going to need to do this, and this. And I want to be able to charge a price where I feel that I just feel great about it, and both of us feel great, my clients and I feel great about it. So if you've ever felt that turmoil of charging a price, and then when they say yes, you're kind of like, yeah, part of you really wanted them to say no because you kind of felt like it was underpriced. The most spiritual thing you can do is actually charge what you're worth. Even if you get a no, you're going to feel better about it than when you get the yes. Because if you ever experienced that, let me know too as well. If I've experienced that where I'm like, I want to work with the person, but at the same time, it's like I tell them maybe not be ready yet, and I put an offer out there. It's been many years since I've done it, but I started identifying. I was starting to feel like, oh man, I really wanted them to say no. I didn't really want them to, it's just not the best proposal ever. So if you've ever done that or felt that, send me a message. I want to know if I'm not alone in this. All right, so help me out here. The next thing here is God doesn't waste pain. So every single thing in our life, every single challenge, every single quote unquote painful situation that we've ever gone through, in other words, every scar that we've ever attained in our life can become part of your purpose, part of your journey. And I've talked to countless, working in the coaching space, especially with health, wealth, and relationship being such broad categories. And I've worked with many of those in all these spaces. And a lot of times their business was birthed out of something that was painful. That was a painful situation, whether they were hurt by a business partner, a romantic partner, or their health was just so much so and they had a scare where there was a transformation that needed to happen. A lot of these were birthed out of this pain. And what ends up happening is that now that pain has become part of the purpose, okay? So I really feel that God doesn't waste pain, and it's one of those things where I don't feel like God gives us pain, like puts pain on us, but it's a way of just like where our character gets honed sometimes when we experience pain, because it's us experiencing the situation, not God saying, I'm going to hurt that guy today because I'm mad at him for stealing a candy bar when he was 6 years old. And or something like that, something like that. So it doesn't. I don't think like that, but I think more like these situations that we have, it's all part of a plan for a better purpose, and it's not wasted. We can't look back and say, oh, my 30s were wasted, or I wasted my 20s, or I wasted my teens, or anything like that, like in that capacity. Okay. Moving over to like some business stuff here too. Again, is hire for character and train for skill. There is also a way to do both, but nonetheless, when you hire, ultimately hire for the character and train for the skill. And I've worked in retail management environments with many leaders under me, and also in online capacity. And I can tell you 10 times out of 10, your best bet is to hire for character, someone that has good character, integrity, things like that. They're going to be able to learn the skill and they're going to be able to perform. But ultimately, those character traits are what you want in your business. You want to have that versus someone who's super skillful, but their character is a disconnect from the business. It's something that is actually potentially could be like a cancer, even where it just causes this draining and negative experience. So always look at the character you're hiring. Take your time to hire. Search and search and search until you find the right character, and then train for the skill. And you may come across where you find someone that has the character, they already have a lot of skill, and boom, you find somewhat of a unicorn, and that happens. It happens very often, actually. Sometimes if you look enough, and you set your mind to look for it, you start identifying these unicorns, and it's actually a really cool, beautiful thing. Because I've hired several of them over my career, whether it's before my online business and even in the online business. It's a really, really great place to be when you have someone like that has a character and a skill. Okay, but ultimately, hire for character, train for the skill. Number 25 we're at here is don't sell futures. There's very, very few people who are just trying to shop and buy something based off of just the features. They want to know that it's functional. Like, am I going to be able to use this? If someone's coming to work with my company, they're not coming to my company because of the features I have. Oh, I send a weekly report? Yeah, that's the feature I want. No one's ever made a decision to work with me because I send a weekly report. But they made a decision to work with me because I'm able to help them to optimize their funnel, increase their conversion rate, increase their sales, increase their ROAS. And this is the future of the business that they want. They want to have an advertising channel that's profitable, that's making them continuous revenue on a month-to-month basis, or they want to scale their launches, they want to get better results. And that promise that I give them is the future of what it'll be like working with me, not the feature of what it'll be like working with me. Okay? The next thing is, I do believe this hardcore. So if you have a business that doesn't include this, maybe start thinking about it, right? Recurring revenue equals recurring peace. And it's something in business I've learned is that, especially we started business in 2018 full time. I've been in business before that and I had to close doors. And one of the big lessons is that when it's always dependent on that launch cycle in order to get revenue, it becomes very draining, very taxing, and is a quick way to burn out. But having recurring revenue, whether it's always having a group of one-on-one clients that are paying on a recurring basis, or some sort of membership or some sort of offer that is maybe just people can get the help they need, but on a monthly recurring revenue basis, this gives a lot of peace, because those fluctuations that normally happen in business becomes less stressing and less taxing on our system, because we have that cushion of that monthly recurring revenue that's coming in. And if that monthly recurring revenue can be 20, 30, 40% higher than the business monthly expenses and the monthly operating costs, it puts you in an extremely peaceful position to now where when you get one-on-one clients and all of a sudden the profitability goes through the roof, it becomes this like splurge in the business where you're able to do so much more. You're able to invest more in advertising, invest more in tools, invest more in features that make the quality of life better for your clients and for your business, right? So it's something really, really important to look for is recurring revenue. If you don't have this in your business, start considering what are some ways you can increase or include recurring revenue in your business. All right. I've been going back and forth. If you haven't noticed, some of these have just been live, some of these have been business. So hopefully that style resonates with you guys. It took me a while to put together this list here, and I have to often reference back to where I'm at on it. So, but hopefully it's been helpful to you too as well. Don't forget to, leave a review for the podcast, subscribe, share with someone, also on the YouTube channel too as well. Subscribe, give us a like and a share. It really, really helps us out to reach others, but also helps the algorithm too as well. Not that I'm doing it all for that. Even if just one person hears this and it's helpful, that's good enough for me. But at the same time, I would like for hundreds or even thousands to be able to get content that could be impactful and even life-changing. Okay? So let's move on here now. Number 27. A regulated nervous system is the best business plan. And I've gone through many programs and many different type of experiences where I've learned to regulate my nervous system on many different levels. And I can tell you right now that being able to regulate your nervous system has been, or for me, being able to regulate my nervous system has been something that's been this invaluable. And every single cent I paid for it, and I paid quite a bit to learn these skills, have been absolutely worth it, because it feels really good to, like, if something happens and I can feel my body start getting dysregulated, I'm almost immediately able to now tap into some of the tools I have to be able, whether it's with my thoughts or my physical breathing or taking a moment to go somewhere and step away or something like that. I'm able to really just have this regulator system that's caused so much more less stress and more peace. So hard times feel like less hard because of having a regulated nervous system. And if you're someone who's like, you kind of freak out every time something little happens, and it doesn't fit, it may not be little to you because you're freaking out, but in the grand scheme of it, it could be little. Whether an email sends an hour too early or something like that. It's a very small example, right? That's ultimately, in the grand scheme, that's not a huge problem. But if you're like, oh, you kind of freak out about it and you're worried about it, is the chances are your nervous system is very dysregulated, and you can your business plan of getting your nervous system regulated is going to actually provide a lot of dividends and a lot of profits for you. Okay, so the next thing, number 28, is you're not tired or uninspired. I found in my life a lot of times I'm like, it's like it feels like I'm tired, but really it's like I'm not tired. I could do stuff. I can easily go for a 5, 6, 7 mile walk or hike. I'm really not that physically tired or even mentally tired. It's more just I'm feeling uninspired. I'm not really feeling like I want to maybe record a YouTube video or a podcast, or maybe I don't even feel like going on a walk. I'm just kind of lacking some inspiration in that day. And it could be fleeting. Maybe it's just a few hours, maybe it's just a day, but I keep tabs on it. Like, hey, am I uninspired right now? What do I need to do to spark my inspiration? What's going to help me pour into me? Maybe I need to take a moment to say, you know what? I'm going to step away from it all, go numb out and play a game for a few hours, and let my mind is focusing and thinking about that situation or things that I want to do, rest for a bit, so that when I come back now, and I'm not using it as an escapist type of behavior where I'm going to be doing this for weeks and days, something like that, but just for a moment to where I can just get back into some peace. Or I like walks, I go hiking. That's kind of like my thing more than anything else. But there are times where a good movie, a good show, a good game, a good conversation also does that job too as well. And I find that as soon as it's all over, as soon as I'm finished playing, or I stop playing a game, because now I'm feeling inspired. Now I'm like, okay, I'm inspired to go create something or do something, or if I maybe have an answer to a problem I'm facing right now. And I go back into it and I start feeling that tiredness is now all of a sudden gone. It's like, well, I was feeling kind of sleepy, but now I'm not. It's because I was truly not physically tired. I was just uninspired, and my mind's trying to wrap around it. And the more I become in partnership with my mind, the more and more I've been able to navigate some of these things. Okay? Then the next one here is consistency is greater than brilliance. I don't consider myself to be the most brilliant person in the world, but I do consider myself to be pretty darn consistent. And what I find is that doing little things consistently has produced better results than just doing single individual grand things. And now there is a place for both. You want to be able to still do big grand things like a big launch or something like that, but also the daily consistency of lead generation, or planning on different activities or something like that you may want to do for your physical health. It's going to be the consistency of doing that is going to be better than like this one-time brilliant show of like, let me go do this a savage race and thinking that's going to be my plan for weight loss. I'll do one savage race every 2-3 months, and that's what's going to help me again peak physical condition. It doesn't really work like that, right? I think in my mind, or not in my mind, my experience, the consistency has often produced better results over those big grand things. Like I said, there's a place for it, but ultimately consistency plays off bigger. Okay, let's see, where am I at? Ooh, I've gone quite a bit here. It's probably one of the longest episodes I've done. I know I have some interviews that have gone longer, but I think we're approaching about 50 minutes here, and I do have to Got about 8 more or so to go. So I do. I when I was going through this and creating this, I was like, wow, it was obviously a little challenging to get all 38, but nonetheless, I stuck through it, and I was pleasantly surprised by some of these things that I've learned. And it was kind of like even opening to my eyes too as well. So um, the next thing is the time with your kids is not necessarily a break or time off. It's actually doing something that matters the most, because I've learned this. I forget exactly who it was a philosopher, but they were basically saying that there's a unique relationship that we as parents have with our children, and that no matter what happens, not necessarily no matter, but like it could be pretty darn hard, tough things. Our children still desires to have a relationship, a friendship, a this intimacy with us, even though there may be hurt, pain, trauma, things like that. At the end of the day, no matter what, like, our children has a desire to build a friendship with us. So I really look at this to heart and say, you know what, like, yeah, they have their own wants, their needs, desires. Like, I've been with them since they were born, but at the same time, that those moments spent together with them, I think is really the work that ultimately matters the most. Because I know in my future, as I think of my old age, sometimes some of the things I think about is really just being able to see their lives, and if they have children or not, if I have grandchildren or not, doesn't really matter. But in my mind, I visualize having grandchildren would be great. But if it's their choice if they want that or not. But nonetheless, in my mind and my vision, that's there, and it's something that, like, none of the business stuff, the like having a house, a car, and these materialistic things really matter. If I really step back and I look at it and I'm like, hey, when it's my time to go and my last thing, really what I'm focusing on is really just the big bulk of it has been the work I've done with my children. And because I've grown up without a father, mine died when I was very young, I take my role and my responsibility as a dad very seriously. And maybe because I didn't have one, that I really want to make sure that my kids know that I'm here for them, that I'm present, and that they can always come to me for anything. But nonetheless, more so than that, just for even myself, I feel that my time with them is not time off. That's something where I can just numb out and zone out and just kind of be a blah. And it's something I'm actively working on, being more conscious of, like, how am I using my device too much when I'm around them? Are my conversations meaningful? Am I teaching them, embedding and distilling wisdom inside of them that they're going to keep with them for the rest of their life? And I hope and pray so, but I know that the time with your kids is not time off. It's time to be present, time to be on, and to be truly on, like your most authentic, your happiest, your joyful self, the real you, like the real me. That's where it comes out. It's when I'm sitting them, really just can be free, and just even also be a kid too as well. Like, I'm gonna meet my daughter as my 8-year-old sometimes, or I'm gonna meet my son as a teenager. I'll meet him as my teenager, because I've always had a lot of fun, and I like to do that with them too as well. Okay, next thing is don't scale before you stabilize. You want to make sure that you're stabilizing things on the back end, your systems, your team, because if you start scaling and then the systems can't handle the influx of conversions, or your team can't handle the influx of clients, sometimes you'd be surprised. It could just be an additional 3 or 4 clients. The team is not prepared to handle that. You can potentially, put a lot of stress on the business. So taking the time to really stabilize before you scale can be a way to really get big wins in the business. All right. Next thing is branding is just your values, like, made visible. It's one of those things where when I started learning about branding, one of the first things I did was I had to write out my values, and I was like, my values? What does this have to do with my business? But then I was like, oh, it makes sense. It goes into a lot of stuff. How am I visually showing that my business is trustworthy? How do I visually show that we're a very efficient team? How do I visually show that we're strategic? And it has to actually go with the branding, right? So branding is just your values made visible. So if I value strategy, if I value honesty, I value these things, I want to show that in my brand, so my clients can also feel that and see that before they even push the button to buy or to even book the call with me. Okay. Next thing is your feedback. So every launch is feedback, not failure, and it can look like that sometimes, to where we are we launch, we spend X amount of dollars, but then guess what happens? Crickets. Like, we have a low show up rate, conversions are down, open rates are down, whatever the case may be. This is not failure, it's feedback. It lets you know that there's something in the messaging that's out of alignment. And sometimes there's not much way to know that, as far as how the audience is going to fully respond to the message. Like, we don't know exactly how well our webinar is going to convert until we actually host and do the dang thing. Until we actually host it, get 40, 50 people there, do our presentation, do our pitch, pay attention to when did they leave, all these different things. So all that plays a big role in it too as well. Okay. So every launch is feedback, not failure. If you look at it as failure, you're not going to want to do it again. You're going to be like, no, I failed on a launch. I never want to do that again. I never want to feel that failure. If you look at it as feedback, it's like, okay, well, I need more feedback. How do I get more feedback? I do this again. And that's where you start now stepping out. You start being more experimental, and you start trying and become bolder and braver. And guess what? You start getting better and better and better results. The way you start crushing it and closing it like crazy on webinars is by doing webinars so you can actually close and crush. Okay? Because you're never going to be able to close and crush if you never do it, or you're barely doing it once in a while. The more frequently you do it, like the best people who close on those online events, if you look at them or look at their starting journey, you can see how much they've done. They've done so much of it. Now you're like, well, it's no wonder they're good at it, because they've done hundreds. So you can't expect your second one to perform as well as, like, top marketers' 1,000th webinar. It's just a whole different level there. But your 1,000th, that's, you can compare your 5th to your 1,000th, and you can see a big difference in your journey. Okay, so let me wrap it up here, because we're at almost end. Next thing is that I think, as one of the lessons is that it's okay to outgrow people. You can keep loving, you can keep moving. There's like friendships, the people in our lives. I'm not talking about like family or like our kids or things like that, but just sometimes we come across, we meet certain people, even like mentors and such, that ultimately sometimes we outgrow them. And whether it's people in our lives who've been there for a long time, who've just been a safe space for us, but now we've grown and we still want to maintain that friendship. But at the same time, in order to evolve into the next selves, we also need to step out and explore more. And this is where sometimes it's I think it's okay to go outgrow, and it's we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings or anything. We're just looking at our lives, our best selves, and what do I need in order to grow and thrive. And there are some times where I look and there's friends where, based on their lifestyle, is just something I couldn't even be around that environment anymore. It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel comfortable. And unfortunately, that's something that I'm not willing to continue to put myself in. And that's a hard line. That's boundaries too as well, you have to establish. But it is okay to outgrow people. Keep moving, keep loving, keep growing, and it's totally okay, right? The next thing is that stress won't solve what structure can. And this is something, whether it's like if you're someone who stresses, and when you stress, you start noticing certain behaviors. So for me, for example, when I stress, in the past I've had issue with stress eating. So if I get stressed, I really can eat quite a bit, and this is some learned behaviors from my early childhood that I had to go and deal with, and really work to overcome and put structure in place. And once I put structure in place, I was able to really solve the root of what these things were. Okay. Next thing is legacy, I believe, is built in quiet decisions, not loud accomplishments. So those quiet moments when we are present with our children, when we are instilling those values of maybe entrepreneurship, of faith, of God, of prayer, of being at peace. This is what builds a long-lasting legacy. The moments where we're networking and it's quiet and we're not really all loud, like, yeah, I did this crazy big 400K launch. Is more about the consistency of showing up, the providing little tips. These have always worked to build a business, build a legacy in a way that the loudness doesn't do it. Okay, and then lastly, is one of the lessons is you're not building a business. You're really building who you want to become, the person you want your kids to see, the person you want your wife to see, the person that you want to give to the world, to contribute. You're building yourself. You're building yourself in all of these things. And ultimately, at the end of it, if we look and we step back, none of it is the stuff that truly matters. What really truly matters is when you stand in front of the mirror, what you see. And what you're building is that person that you're looking back at in the mirror, the soul that is experienced in this world, the soul that is you, the young person who wanted to be loved, who is loved, who needs that reminder sometimes. Who they need that reminder from is you. You need to give yourself that reminder. But that person in the mirror ultimately is the legacy you're building. It's the business you're building, the life you're building. Everything is all right there in front of you as you look at yourself, as you can touch yourself and feel. That is ultimately the biggest lesson I've learned, is that I'm not building anything except building myself. And the more I partner with myself, the more I go deep and I look at, like, what are these things that I want to build, and what parts of myself am I holding back that which I truly want to build. And the more I forgive, the more I peel back these layers, the more I take off the masks, the more I'm able to see a stronger future, the more I'm able to create better structures, and the more I'm able to get close to those around me and to build a true lasting legacy. So I hope this has been helpful to you. It's a little deviation from the standard business stuff that I normally talk about, but I really wanted to share that. There's been so much gratitude for my birthday this year. I shared this before, but my birthday last year, I had a really bad accident where I was leaving a hotel, had a slip and fall, hit my back on some concrete steps, and it really tossed my life in a whirlwind. And it just very, very quick flash of a moment, it brought up a lot of these things that haven't really been fully facing or dealing with. And this past year has been an incredible journey in coming back to my own self. And I wish I could say that everything is amazing and awesome, but nonetheless, these things that I've learned has helped me to be safe, to be good, to be happy, to find joy, and to really just have a spark and a healthy hustle for going after the goals I have in life. Okay, so thank you for being on this journey with me. And as always, if you're ever looking for support, whether you're struggling with mental health or just really having a difficult time with that, reach out, ask. There's lots of apps available, lots of resources available. I wish I could give you a resource right now, but nonetheless, do a quick Google search and you can find so much online, so much books. I mentioned Brene Brown and Power of Vulnerability earlier, but when we talk about mental health, there's lots of great counselors out there, BetterHelp, Regain apps, where you can be able to get affordable counselors, things like that. Okay, and as always, if you ever need support with your marketing, with your advertising, don't forget to schedule a call with me. You'll speak directly to me, and that's arfanhussein.com/start, or just go to arfanhussein.com. Both find a link there. It's a total free scale ad session. We'll be able to give you crystal clear clarity on exactly what you need to do with your advertising to start generating a positive return on ad spend. I'll give you the roadmap of what it looks like for you to be able to get us established in your business. And if it makes sense for us to work together, I'll also show you what it's like for us to be able to partner with you in your business to help you to get the results. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.